together we would sit. Let's sit as we take Presby hymn 702. Can we have the other tune? Enyani metu jumpa mama nyani majinkwa. You are not familiar with this tune? Okay, so let's go again. We thank God so much for bringing us together again this morning as we continue our reflection However, today is a different day. Today is our Sabbath day, a day of rest. And therefore, we are switching from the law and the law and the law things. We are coming to the love of God that is calling and calling even when we are not ready to come back. So, as we are reflecting on Hosea chapter 7 and 8 this morning. Hosea chapter 7 and 8. So far, the earlier facilitators have tried to take us through from chapter 1 up to the chapter 6 of the book of Hosea. And just as we have seen how God demonstrated his love to the people of God, so much so that it has to be with a man of God and a prostitute, so that he will be able to demonstrate this to the people to see how he is in love with them, and yet they have been unfaithful all the time. Just to add to the discussion, this chapter 7 and 8 is part of what we call the judgment oracles, where God is now angry with the people and God is lambasting them. God is drawing attention to what they have been doing, that he is not pleased with it. Things that are going on that he detests. And the fact that he is calling the attention day in and day out, but they are not responding. And therefore we see a lot of God's judgment on them and God calling them back. And if they are not coming, then he's going to punish them. So, adding to the background of this, we see that Hosea prophesied around the time where, or the eras of these kings, as you might have already known: Hosea, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. And they were those that were in the southern kingdom. And then we also see Jeroboam in the northern kingdom. And that was where most of the trouble were. And they are going to be dealt with first in this case. And for us to better understand some of these that we are reading, we have to go back to 2 Kings chapter 15 to chapter 20. And that is where you see the historical context also situated. So we will try and read some portions from there to illustrate some of the things as we have it. Again, he also prophesied during the time when Amos and Micah and the first part of Isaiah was also written, or they prophesied around the time. And just to go back a little on these kings, you will see that Uzziah was a king and he served for about 52 years. Then we also see Jotham also serving for 16 years. Then Ahaz also served around 16 years. And then Hezekiah will serve around 26 years. Then Jeroboam in the northern kingdom also served for 41 years. And during the time of Uzziah and Jeroboam, because they spent a lot of time, they were able to do a lot of things. So There was so much breakthrough during their time. And especially when you come to the southern kingdom, because there were so many wars between the kingdoms then, one of the trade routes, the busiest of them, was passing through Jerusalem, the area, the southern kingdom area, where we also hear of Micah, the hometown of Micah area also. It was passing through that area. And therefore, there was so much economic boom at the time for the people of Israel. So many things were happening for them. And so you see that Amos will talk about some of the things. And Micah will also talk about some of the things. And Isaiah will also talk about some of the things. And it is the same, in the same context that we also find Hosea also speaking. Another thing that I would also want to add a voice to it has to do with the fact that it was also at the time when the Assyrian kingdom was taking or making dominance in the whole of the region, trying to control all the kingdoms then. And this campaign was led by Tiglath-Pileser III, who was the most great of all the Assyrian kings. And so he was trying to also emphasize his dominance in there. So we will see a lot of trouble with Assyria and all those things as we come to some of the things in the passage. Again, let me also add that the economy of the time was that which we have already known. It was ruled by empires, and the emperors or the kings were those that were taking control. And we have seen that it was a time where they were living in what we call the zero-sum world, where everything was strictly competitive. And so every nation would want to compete with the others. They would want to fight for resources. They would want to fight for whatever that is available. And that is why we have the pillaging and the plundering, so that you will be there and somebody will just come against you and take whatever belongs to you. And we see that the Israelites would also be doing some of these things. And the worst form of it was that they were doing it against themselves. And some of them were able to have enough wealth and to spare. Like we hear in Amos, they were dusted, whilst other people were crumbling. They couldn't even afford their daily meal. And it was because the system also put in place that taxation system where you are taxed. You want to do something, you don't have money, then we give you the land or we give you the resources, but you pay tribute, you pay tax. And therefore, a lot of those who were rich were getting richer, and the poor were always down there. And so the economic situation was very bad, very bad. And remember that all these things were the things that the law or the covenant stipulations have mentioned. Things that they were not supposed to do. And so some of these things are just a reflection of how Israel lived out the covenant terms. How Israel lived out the covenant terms. And so we will see some of these things playing in there. And once they go against the covenant terms, then God will call them back to it and call their attention to it. So right from the beginning of this chapter, we see the last part of chapter 6 leading into this particular chapter. And in the chapter 6, especially from 7 to 9, we read that, but like Adam, they transgressed the covenant. There they dealt faithlessly with me, Gilead is a city of evildoers, dragged with blood, and Ramoth Gilead, as robbers lie in wait for a man, so the priests bound together. The priests bound together. They murder on the way to Shechem, and they commit villainy. You will notice that some cities have been mentioned here, or two cities, including Gilead and Shechem. The other city that has also been a little challenge because of the way it is has to do with Adam. And Adam is also a city. There's a city called Adam, which is also in the Gilead area. And when we come to these two cities that have been mentioned, especially Gilead is supposed to be kind of a district area. So the city particularly that is talking about is the Ramoth Gilead. And if you remember when we were treating the book of Joshua, some of the cities that were set apart by God for special purposes, including these two, they were part of the Levitical cities that were selected as places of refuge, the refuge cities. So these, among other four, were supposed to be cities where people will run to when they are in trouble, so that they are saved. However, because of the way they were handling things, now these cities have turned into a place where we have people of wickedness, a den of thieves. So instead of people running to the place for refuge, they go there and they are rather. And that was going to be horrible. And to make the matter worse, we see that the priests were implicated. The priests. You would remember, or if you remember, it's a Levitical city. And therefore it's supposed to be full of priests. And the one who is in charge in the place is supposed to be the chief priest. So that when you run there and they are able to have you there, until the chief priest dies, you still remain. And when the chief priest dies, then you go back. And you read that now, even the priests, they gang together. And they exploit people. Obia yenti asofo no so de omo ho agim. And they are causing trouble in there. They commit villainy. And villainy means an embodiment of wickedness and criminality. So you will see how treacherous they would be at the time. So that God is saying, this is what they are doing. So when we come to the last verse in chapter 6, that is verse 11, to chapter 7, verse 1, we see God's desire to heal and restore his people. But his efforts were met with new outbreak of sin and crimes. God is ready to rescue. God looks at the situation and it is not good, like it happened in the beginning. Everything is now tohu vabohu. Everything is formless. Everything is destroyed. There is darkness all over. And like God did in the beginning, he came to the scene to make things work, to get a better place. And God comes to his people and they are not ready for him. And they are meeting him rather with evil. With evil. For you also, O Judah, a harvest is appointed. When I restore the fortunes of my people, when I would heal Israel, the iniquity of Ephraim is revealed, and the evil deed of Samaria, for they deal falsely, the thief break in, and the bandit raid outside. So when God says, I have appointed a day of harvest, I want to heal, I want to get things better, then he says, I am met with iniquity, I am met with evil deeds in the central of Samaria, and they are dealing falsely. The thieves will break in and the bandits will raid outside. So now they have become robbers and they are robbing themselves. They have become thieves and they are stealing from their own people. And God is saying, I hate this. One of the theology of Deuteronomy that we see has to do with the justice alone theology. That there should be justice all the time, justice everywhere. But the people of God have become treacherous and they are living anyhow. And they are now dealing with their own people in ways that God does not understand. We see how greedy the people have become. And yet, that was not God's will for them. They have become so greedy that we read from Amos, people are sleeping on ivory beds. Beds that are made of ivory. How much ivory would you collect to be able to prepare a bed? Ivory coming from the trunk of the elephant. It's like people who are sleeping on the golden beds. This one is not hollow. This one is pure gold, solid. Now, what else was I not hearing? When is see a moment? I see. But not when your own brother or sister cannot afford a daily meal. You remember that they were now even selling doves dropping to their people to eat. And they said, "We are in ho. Ebi mo nya bi di mabro so, but ebi no so sabe. Emoa janai ena wonti." Erade hu ne mamobo. To make the matter worse, they don't even consider what was happening. And they kept indulging themselves in evil so much that they are now consumed by their evil. Now their conscience is dead. So that even when God is calling the attention to it, and the prophets are trying everything possible to bring them back to, they don't see anything wrong with what they are doing. Look at what Hosea is going through. And you are preaching and demonstrating this, and they don't care. They don't care. Also, for a prostitute, and you say, and he say, I am calling you back. This is what you are doing to God. We don't even know what you are saying. We don't understand what you are saying. And they will not care. Verse 2 says that, but they do not consider that I remember all the evil. Now their deeds surround them, and they are before my face. They don't even remember that God is taking account of anything. They don't remember that what they are doing is against the covenant, and therefore God will bring them to book. They don't even consider that. It's that we read from the Judges that it gets to a point in time when they said they had no king, and therefore everybody was doing whatever pleases in his eyes. Now you have kings, but you are still doing what is pleasing in your own eyes. So was it that you needed kings? Or it's just that you were just using that as an excuse for your wrongdoing? You see, oh, you need him today, and near Massa. You are Mohins who are Brosokra. And the other thing was that the rulers were also enjoying from this. When we go to Amos and the others, we will realize that even the priests were enjoying, because the people who bring fat envelopes to church, they will give fat offerings. The rulers were also enjoying from whatever was happening. So in verse 3 we read that by their evil they make the kings glad, and the princes by their treasury. So the king is glad, the princes are glad. Why? Because the system is favoring them. The government in power is enjoying. And they don't care if the others are not. Well, fight for your own life. Survival of the fittest. And that was the time also. Instead of the people of God becoming the light to the nations around them, they are now implicated in what the surrounding nations were doing. To the extent that now they are robbing themselves. You remember the story of Ahab and Naboth. He said, you give me this. He said, no, this one is not for you. You have your family land, this is our family land. So please, let me concentrate on mine. You two take yours. Then the king is sad. Then the queen says, how dare you? You talk to my husband like that? Who born you? Where does he stay? Call the rulers of that land for me. Summon them immediately. Tell them that this gentleman should be stoned to death immediately, with immediate effect. If I gather people that will bear witness against him, you, whatever you will tell for the people to believe you, that is your case. But make sure the person is crucified, he's destroyed today. And then somebody would want to ask, what does he say? Shut up. You can't ask any question at this time. All that we want to be done is that this man has to die because he has spoken against the king. And they had to do it. And they did. And this is their own brothers, and their own sisters. And it tells you that was the economic situation. People were just misbehaving. They are just robbing people of their land, taking their homes, taking even their wives, and all those things. They were happening. They were happening. And the priests were enjoying it. The kings were enjoying it. Into wine Rebecca. Ajo di foya. And so you see Hosea talking about this, and the other contemporaries would also talk about it, as it were. Another thing apart from this economic situation or this crisis and injustice that we also see God drawing their attention to it. I think we have already mentioned it in the previous chapters. But it has to do with the idolatry and the adultery of Israel. The idolatry, and adultery of Israel. These are two different things. But when we come to Israel and their relationship with God, they are kind of the same thing. Because idolatry meant adultery for them in their relationship with God. Once they go after foreign gods and once they go to worship other gods, then they are also breaking their marriage covenant with God. You would always know the marriage metaphor as we have come to see in the Old Testament, where God is the husband and Israel is the wife. And we see Hosea playing that role of God and the wife, Gomer. And we see it here. In chapter 7, verse 4, chapter 8, verse 11, and verse 14, we will see God mentioning some of the things. But let me say that the one and only reason why God brought Israel out of Egypt was to come and be his own people. He was bringing them out so that they become his people. And because of that, they were supposed to worship him alone. Worship him alone. We have what we have come to know as the Yahweh alone theology, where Yahweh is their one and only God, their God alone. Their God alone. As you also see in the Shema, their God alone. They cannot worship any other God. No, not at all, not one. It's supposed to be Yahweh alone. Yahweh alone. And so it is strictly monotheism. It is not polytheism. It is not monolithic. It is not henotheism or whatever. No. It is strictly monotheism. Only one God. And him alone. And you will see that Deuteronomy will talk about this. It's also part of the theology that we find in Deuteronomy. That you are in a covenant relationship. And if they use the suzerainty covenant as we have studied, then God is the suzerain now. And you pay allegiance to him alone. You cannot pay allegiance to any other person. You are in covenant with God alone. You cannot go to to any other person. If you need help, it is God. If you have anything, it is God. You are in covenant with him, and therefore you always pay allegiance to him. And in this kind of covenant relationship, the sovereign is always supreme. He is always great. And therefore you have a God who is so great as your God. And so you are not supposed to go anywhere. And therefore when we come to Exodus, when they were giving the commandments, you will see God would emphasize that. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 to 6. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. So like we have studied in the suzerainty covenant, the suzerain or the covenant would always want to project the suzerain, the one who is supreme, the one who is in charge, and what he has done, the historical prologue. So he says, I am the one who brought you out of Egypt. And therefore, you shall have no other gods before me. No other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that which is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the sun. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandment. So you will see God demonstrating to them that I am alone, and you should worship me alone. There should be none before me. In fact, look at the verbs that are used there. That you shall not make anything, not in the likeness of anything in the heavens or on the earth or even under the earth. Don't make it. And even if something has been made, don't worship it. Maybe you have found something somewhere that is made in the likeness of God. Don't worship it, don't serve it. Like yesterday, for those in the third years, we were studying the Psalm 1. That you can walk, but you don't sit. You can walk, but you cannot stand. And even if something causes you to stand, you don't sit. So you should not make it. And even if something has happened and it has been made, don't worship it, don't serve it. Then he says that anyone who does this becomes one who hates me. And if you hate me, I will deal with you. I will not deal with you alone. I will deal with you to your third generation. Even four. Hello? Once you worship any other God, it is telling me that you hate me. And normally when these words are used, hate is used, it's not necessarily as we would use it. But it has to do with you loving me less. You love me less. You love these things more than you love me. You hate me. I will deal with you. And before I finish with you, your third and fourth generation will benefit from it. But if you love me, if you put me first in all things, then I would also demonstrate my love towards you, so that even 1,000 generations after you will come and benefit from it. Hallelujah. And that is the love of God at work. And yet the people of God, we don't want this one. We don't want this one. Israel was under strict obligation to follow Yahweh alone, to worship him alone. To worship him alone. However, right from the beginning, right from the time when they entered the promised land, even on the way, they started to love other things. And you see, during the time of Judges, things were going so wrong. And God will chastise them, give them up to their enemies, and they will repent. God will bring them back, and they will go back again. God will bring them back again, and it was just a cycle of apostasy. So by the time we come to this era of Hosea, it is not a new news. It is just the same thing that they have been doing that is being repeated. So in verse 4, God called the people adulterous. He said, you are all adulterous. You are all adulterous. And he says that they are like a heated oven whose baker ceases to stir the fire from the kneading of the dough until it is leavened. So he uses the metaphor of the oven to demonstrate what the people were like. So normally when they are kneading the dough and all that, they will have to put on the fire first. And the fire should be burning. So by the time the dough is leavened, then you put it in there. You close the mouth or the lid. And then by the time you get back, everything is good. He said that people are like that oven. The fire is in there. And it is burning. Even when the baker has ceased to go and look at it, something is still happening. They are not ready to stop what they are doing. They are not ready. Chapter 8 verse 11 says that because Ephraim has multiplied altars for sinning, they have become to him altars for sinning. They have multiplied altars. And by the time we get to the time of Manasseh, they are worshiping every kind of God they find anywhere. Are you someone to say, Obusumbi or baby, and Ahumbi or baby? And even Ahaz, whose time the Hosea also prophesied, was also one of the worst time. Ahaz, a king that will sacrifice children, he will burn them alive. Hey, human depravity. And they put these children into fire. And the children are crying. And they're happy. God says that people have multiplied altars. When you go back to Deuteronomy, one place that they were supposed to serve God alone was in Jerusalem. And so you remember that once Jeroboam put up the altars at Beersheba and Dan, it became the sin of Jeroboam. And they are going to be measured by that sin. Because he cannot do that. They have to go to Jerusalem. If you can't go to Jerusalem, you stay in your house. Once a year, come. Than to go anywhere. But by this time, altars everywhere. Altars everywhere. And he says, once you have multiplied altars, these altars are altars for sinning. Because you are going to sacrifice to other gods. And because of that, there will also be a sin against you. And these things the people are told, they are not worried though. All that they want is that things should get well for us. Without considering their life and what is going on that is not of God. When you look at verse 8, chapter 8, verse 14, we again read that for Israel has forgotten his maker. They have forgotten the suzerain. And they have built palaces. And Judah has multiplied fortified cities. And that was all they care. They care about their wealth. How to get wealthier. And they are robbing people, and they are building fortified cities, and they are building skyscrapers, and they are building things, and other people are in trouble and they don't care. Their own God is not with them and they don't care. And Hosea has to draw the attention to it. You people, this thing will bring trouble. Oh, bring trouble. So something that we see in there has to do with the fact that once the people start indulging in idolatry, it affects a lot of things around them. They begin to live anyhow. Because now they don't care. In fact, I am tempted to bring it into some of our tribes where you get to a point where you are able to go for spells or so that the bien timiu, and you are taking people's properties and they cannot do you anything. Either they will bribe the one that is in charge, or because of the medicine they have. Also, no one, not judge, no, confused. No, dear man. So people are living in a kind of life that they don't care. Ayan is ordine ho. Ayan is bibin to me no. And that seems to be the situation of the people at the time. And when they have preached and preached and preached, they will not listen than for God to let Hosea demonstrate it in this weird way. And yet, they still will not listen until God will destroy them. Now, nyame wanye hwe kura de mama akoya famu nyina ndimo anhwe. Eni na monzu kura zo mo akoma prim papa ne agese me kumu nyina afiri wiase. Na me bon krofo foforo. So from Hosea chapter 7 verse 5 to 7, we read further that on that day of the kings, the princes become sick with the heat of wine. He stretches out his hands with mockers, for with heart like an oven they approach their intrigue. All night their anger smolders. In the morning it blazes like the flaming fire. All of them are hot as an oven, and they devour their rulers. All their kings are fallen, and none of them calls upon me. And so you see, once they have indulged themselves in idolatry and things have gone haywire, now everybody is doing as he or she seems fit in his own sight. And therefore they are living a kind of licentious life. The kings are enjoying, they are partying. And they have the days of the king. Our day. This is the king's day. Osofu's day. And maybe appreciation day. Hey, appreciation once. I see. A day where the Osofu's heart will be married with wine. You joke with that day, it becomes something else. And this one was the king's day. And on the day, we hear that it is not easy for them. They are really enjoying. The princes are enjoying. And it is still around that time that people plot evil. They sit with them, they are eating with them, but they have other intentions. And before they realize, they have been overthrown. He says, for their heart is like an oven. They approach their intrigue. All night their anger smallest. So throughout their night they are planning. They are angry. But in the morning they come to sit with you and they are enjoying. Before you realize, you have been overtaken. So all of them are hot as an oven. All of them. All of them. Obiara pebibiaye. Obiara skimi. Obiara hwenia eba. Say, all the kings have fallen, and none of them call upon me. For us to better understand this passage, just as I said, let's go back to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 8 to somewhere 31 to see how things were happening. 2 Kings 15, 8. Second Kings chapter 15, verse 8. And look at the kings that were there, and look at what was happening to them. Look at the situation as at the time. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel in Samaria. He reigned 6 months. But within that 6 months, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as his predecessors had done. He did not turn away from the sin of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he has caused Israel to sin. And once we talk about the sin of Jeroboam, it is idolatry. When he set up the 2 calves and he told the people that these are those that brought you out from Egypt, and therefore they should worship them. And so that has become a tag on him, the sin of Jeroboam. And when this man came to the scene, within 6 months of his reign, it was just full of idolatry. So what happened to him? Verse 10. Shallum, son of Jabez, conspired against Zechariah. He attacked him in front of the people, assassinated him, and succeeded him as king. So he became a king for only 6 months. And somebody killed him. He assassinated him. And he took over. Let's jump to verse 13. Then Shalom, the son of Jabez, became king in the 39th year of Uzziah, king of Judah. And he reigned in Samaria 1 month. And Mahanaim, son of Gadi, went from Tirzah up to Samaria. He attacked Shalom, son of Jabez, in Samaria, assassinated him, and succeeded him as king. So somebody comes in the scene, within 6 months, he is gone. Oh, look right. Then within 1 month, he is also assassinated. This is a serious plot. So they are enjoying, they are enjoying together, only to know that he's gone. Somebody else have taken over. And that was my name. Let's go to verse 16. At that time, my name, starting out from Tirzah, attacked Tifsa and everyone in the city and in its vicinity. Because they refused to open their gates, he sacked Tifsa and ripped open all the pregnant women. See the atrocities that they were committing. So he comes to the place that he has entered Abetifi. And Abetifi know that you have just assassinated somebody. And so once you come here, you'll be a trouble for us, so we won't let you come. So everybody scatter. He brings the soldiers or whatever, and he sack all of them. Leave this place. And for all those who are pregnant, bring them. And in the open, he will cut you. Open your womb and bring the children out. And this is done in Israel, among the people of God. And that is Menahem. Fortunately for him, he ruled for some time. So in verse 17, in the 39th month of Azariah, king of Judah, Menahem, son of Gadi, became king of Israel. And he reigned in Samaria 10 years. So look at how he started. And going to reign for 10 years. What is the reign going to be like? I'm going to say, if you are no pa. Now, I also say, if you are no pa, they are going to be saying. Verse 18. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. During his entire reign, he did not turn away from the sin of the son of Jeroboam. Sorry, he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he has caused Israel to commit. The entire reign, within the 10 years, he plunged Israel into idolatry. Verse 19. Then Pul, king of Assyria, invaded the land, and Menahem gave him 1,000 talents of silver to gain his support and strengthen his own hold in the kingdom, or on the kingdom. Menahem extracted this money from Israel. Every wealthy person had to contribute 50 shekels of silver to be given to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria withdrew and stayed in the land no longer. So when the king came against it, because it was, as we have said, there's always someone, so he can just come and conquer you. But once he saw that this man was coming, he said, oh, please, you don't worry, I will sort you out. And he mobilized money. Then he will give to him. And that will not be enough. So everyone who has money in town, you are contributing this amount. And he will collect everything and give it to Assyria. And by that, what are you doing? You are now taking all your resources and you are giving it to a foreign land. Something the US people always never want to do. When they give you money, they want you to spend it there. You don't take it out. But for them, they are taking everything out. Anyway, he was able to rule for 10 years. Verse 21. As for the other things that Menahem reigned, all he did, they are written in the book. Okay, so let me jump to verse 23. In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, son of Menahem, became king of Israel. Sorry, in Samaria. Israel in Samaria. And he reigned 2 years. So, we don't know what happened to Menahem. We don't see whether he was also assassinated. However, once he gets off the scene, then his son comes to take over the throne. Then he reigned for 2 years. Verse 24. Pekahiah did evil in the sight or in the eyes of the Lord. He did also not turn away from the sin of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. One of his chief officers, Pekah, son of Remaliah, conspired against him. Taking 50 men of Gilead with him, he assassinated Pekahiah, along with some other people that were with him, Agob and Ariel, in the citadel of the royal palace of Samaria. So Pekah killed Pekahiah and succeeded him as king. So he also spent 2 years. So if you remember, if you hear Hosea talking about Jezreel, there's so much sharing of blood. This is where it is coming from. They were killing the kings. They were killing themselves. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, son of Remaliah, became king of Israel in Samaria. He reigned 20 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He also did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he has caused Israel to commit. So you just look at all the kings and just put the number of years together. Getting to about 50 years. And it is only idolatry. Meanwhile, you have a covenant relationship with somebody that you are supposed to focus on, you are supposed to worship. You are supposed to worship him alone, but for about 50 years, you say you don't want to do anything with him. And he has been calling the attention, hey, stop what you are doing, come back to me. And nobody seems to care. Verse 29. In the time of Pekah, king of Israel, then Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria also came to take Ajon, and then Abel, Beth, Maacah, Janoah, Kadesh, and Hazor. He took Gilead and Galilee, including the land of Naphtali, and deported the people to Assyria. Then Hushai, the son of Elah, conspired against Pekah, son of Remaliah. He attacked and also assassinated him. And then succeeded him as king in the 20th year of Jotham, son of Uzziah. So he also became king. He also assassinated him. And Hushai was the last king. And then they will all go to exile. If they had not gone, I am tempted to say that he would have been assassinated. So this tells you of how the kings were living at the time. How the people were living. And if there is always chaos and coup d'etat in the country, what will become the way of the life of the people in there? But that was the life of the people. Zechariah, 6 months, he's gone. Shalom, 1 month, he's gone. Menahem, 10 years is gone. Pekah, 2 years is gone. Pekahiah, 2 years is gone. Pekah, 20 years is gone. Uzziah comes in, and God says, I am fed up. Now let me carry all of you and give it to Assyria. Oh, that God will have mercy upon us. That he will not let our enemy overtake us. Oh, that the Lord will help us so that we will not go astray from him. That we, the priests, who are supposed to have the voice of warning, will not join in the evil that they are perpetuating. Maybe we would want to end this first part here, reflecting through some of the things that we have indicated as we come into a time of prayer. Praise be him 420. Praise be him 420. Wasafuti ni wo yen Yesu ya oma na beji yen ogwanhwefo ye hu hia o ye wungwan na behwe yen ye boni nti anka yen sese ye ba wo nkyɛn beji watom nanso mo bro hunu no dos na wo ma obi rensei Wasa futi newo Yesu yaye Oma na beje Ogwa yafo Oh, no, so Now so reflect a little. If you want to write, you can write some of the things down. But look at how the people were injustice at the time. How they were so much full of injustices. How do we see that in our time? How do we see that in our nation? That calls us as ministers to stand to talk about them. Sometimes some of these are going on in our own congregations. Injustice. People are taking that which belong to other people and they don't care. What about the wickedness of heart of the children of God? Becoming so much depraved that God says that you are committing villainy, wickedness, evil. You have become criminals. People of God, though, you have become criminals. What is it that will cause a man of God to become a criminal? A people of God to become criminal? What is it that we are doing in the church that we are not doing well that will cause people to become criminals? What is the church doing about the people in the church so that we claim to be Christians but we go out there and we are criminals? And the worst of it is when the priest himself is also a criminal. What is it that can happen to you that now you become a criminal, you become a wicked person? That now you will cease to speak the truth. Oh Lord, have mercy upon us. Because sometimes you want to say it, but you are restrained. What about the idolatry? People of God, that God has called them to be his own, and now God is saying that you are all adulterous. And you are not ready to change. You are like a heated oven. What about the rulers of the time? So that when it is on the king's day, they are happy. And then the violence that was happening, the killings that were happening. And sometimes you are posted to places where people are killing people. People are committing murder. Things are going on well. And sometimes when it's on the king's day, the king is happy. And we are always waiting for that day where we are paid. We are waiting for that day when the allowances will come. We are waiting on that day when the appreciation days will come. And we are happy. And if they don't do it well, trouble for them. And the send-offs, they didn't do it well, trouble for them. In this season that there are a lot of transfers. And sometimes some church members are plotting against you. Like they are plotting against the kings. Don't overthrow them. So for a crowd, from Ra. if you are called in a time like this, how are you going to minister faithfully before God? How are you going to minister faithfully before God in times like this? If you find yourself in places where people are like this, and things are in this form, in this way, how would you minister appropriately? How would you minister faithfully before God? So that you will not join them, you will not follow what they are doing. What is it that you would do to yourself so that you don't go and do what they are doing? How would you live out your life in such a way that even though there is corruption all around you, you will still be able to stand strong? In fact, as we read from the second Kings, and they are being measured by the sin of Jeroboam. And I'm wondering, Jeroboam, and now you have become the bad target that people are being measured by. What will you do so that when you go to the station, when they are measuring you with other people, you will be a good standard, but not the bad one? So they will not talk about the sin of Asimesi, no, but the good of. Yemboninti Ankayen sese Yabawon chain Baje wadoi Na so Umo bro No do so Na Yaboninti Yadiaka Yes Yaba Oche Baje Ore Naso Naso Bro One thing that I see in there that also brings me to wonder is when you are on fire, but for the wrong thing. Say they are like the heated oven. All through the night they are still burning. And they are waiting to fire up in the morning. They are going to be set ablaze in the morning. But they are on fire for the wrong thing. Oh Lord, keep me on fire, but for the right thing. Be on fire for righteousness and not for wickedness or evil. The Lord, you will keep my fire burning, but for the right things. So all of you, and all here we will be talking about the kings, we're talking about the people, he's talking about even the priests, because the priests are in there. When the priests are on fire for the wrong things, when we have so much zeal towards dead ends. Oh Lord, keep me on fire, but for righteous deeds. Lord, keep me on fire, but for your purpose, for your will. Mami mo some you who modern pa. Mami fa usuro kwai no so. Lord, keep me shining in all I say and do, that the world may know Christ lives in me and turn to love him too. Lord, keep me on fire. Eradi humigu mimu trame okwa ufru adumre na mayania au na mado Eradi omigu miyamie cha mi wukwa fofo adiyenyine na mayenia awo Akwenyinem na mayenia inamado abrinyina na mayenia Mediana mayenia ministry mu namado adio nyinem na mayenia Eradi humigu mido achane wakma na mayenia Mesrawo humiku Mendo Ure Chame Nama kwanyine na Mayanya Ida Jumaimuna Mayenia Oh Niawo Amado Amayenia Father, we thank you for this time. And we pray that as we continue to reflect on your word, your grace will sustain us. Draw attention to areas where you want us to focus. Lord, open our eyes to see new things that you are bringing to our notice. Help us to know how to lead your flock. Help us to know how to live our life aright. In spite of all the corruption around us, Lord, help us, Lord. Thank you that, Lord, when we call on you, you are ever ready to be our help. Your name be praised even now and always. Amen. We want to take the next hour to go reflect. Then we come back. So we are returning somewhere 10:40. The Lord being our help. Amen.